Hey everybody, I'm Laura, and today we're going to do a guided meditation on taking in the good. Now, this is a practice that comes to us from Dr. Rick Hanson. He is a neuropsychologist, and his research, he talks about in his book, Hardwiring Happiness, is all about how humans come wired with what he calls a negativity bias. Now, by now, this may be something that's quite familiar to you, but just in case it's not, the idea is that humans, in order to survive evolutionarily, we come programmed with this sort of one eye open kind of way of always looking for the thing that might be wrong. So even when we're having a really wonderful experience, we're always kind of looking, waiting for the other shoe to drop or keeping an eye out because there must be something wrong, right? And while this can really be difficult to us in our modern lives, this is something that helped us to survive as humans. So how do we work with this? What do we do? Well, the idea is that there's a correlative here. Not only are we wired to look for the negative thing, we find it really difficult to take in the good thing. And in my experience with myself and working with others, is that if we have any kind of trauma history, or if we live with anxiety or ongoing stress, systemic stress, then we may really have a real issue with this. Like, it can be really difficult for us to trust something good. It can really feel like I can't let that in because, like I said, we're waiting for the other shoe to drop or something bad always happens. So this is a really important practice. Our brains have what's called neuroplasticity. We can change how they work, and that's what we're going to do now. So the idea being that neurons that fire together, wire together, we want to practice this and really start to be able to take in good things. Okay, let's get comfortable however you are. You can be seated, you can be lying down, your eyes can be closed or open, whatever feels best for you. Just make sure you're comfortable. But to begin, I want to invite you to see if you can find a good memory, or maybe you're having a good experience right now. Really look for something that's pretty easy and light, nothing bittersweet, something that feels good, like spending time with someone you love, or patting your dog or your cat, or maybe a childhood memory, maybe being outside and that feeling of fresh air in your skin, looking up at the sky. Find something that feels good. So first, we're looking for a good fact, something you enjoyed. Next, step 2 is that we want to really let ourselves enjoy that experience. So remember that experience if you can. What did it feel like? What were the sensory pieces that went with it? How did you experience the texture of what you were touching? What visuals do you remember? Was somebody laughing? Do you see someone smile? Are you seeing your favorite tree? Really bring in those exteroceptive details. What did you notice in that moment? There's a little bit of a narrative. You can notice that too. And try not to get too thinky about this. Really see if you can just be in the experience again as best you can. And then what did it feel like in your body, if you can remember? Or maybe what does it feel like in your body right now to remember that experience? Were you warm? Were you ice skating and it was cold? Did you notice a sense of activation, like, oh, it feels so good to be here doing this thing? Or did you feel deeply settled and calm? Was there a sense of joy in your body? Or what did it feel like? What was your breathing like? Or what's your breathing like now as you remember? And if any of that is difficult, just let it go and find the thing that does work. So here we're letting ourselves really enjoy the experience, really feel that experience and taking it in. Now, finally, the last step is that we're really going to let it sink in. We're going to amplify that experience. So see if you can imagine here that experience that you're feeling in your body, perhaps, that you're remembering with your mind, that you're seeing in your mind's eye or feeling the sensations of in your memory. imagine that it deepens. The warmth gets a little warmer, the joy gets a little deeper. You might imagine, Dr. Hanson talks about it soaking in like a golden syrup, or maybe it's like sparkles descending through your whole body. What would it feel like if you could enhance or amplify or increase that? See if you can stay with this. Now we're going to try to stay with it for 20 to 30 seconds, really feeling that and really letting it increase. You might notice some shifts in the body as you do this. You will probably notice that part of you wants to be drawn away. There may be some narrative like, oh, this is silly, or yeah, but see if you can just set that aside, notice it, put it to the side, and stay with the memory, stay with the experience, let it amplify. And then let it go. Another piece that we're exploring here, we're going to practice that again in a moment. But another thing that we're exploring here is how difficult it can be to stay with these things. From a Jungian perspective, from Carl Jung's work, what we're trying to do here is reach into our shadow and pull some things forward. So making the implicit explicit, we had that good experience. Now, can we really feel it and allow it? So not everything that is in our shadow is negative. Here we're pulling at the golden shadow. Let's try again. See, this time, can you remember something that somebody said to you that was kind or caring or a compliment? Something good that happened to you that maybe would have made you feel good about yourself had you been able to let it in. Now, if that's not something that clicks for you, then look for another pleasant experience, something that really felt good. Time with a loved one, time during your favorite activity, reading your favorite book, watching your favorite movie, whatever that is. But if you're somebody for whom compliments are difficult, this is good work. Now, remembering what it felt like now, we found the fact, somebody said something, or I had this experience, and see if you can let yourself feel that experience. Maybe you're hearing the words. Maybe you're seeing the face of the person or reading what they wrote. What do you notice in your body? Can you let that impact you? Can you let it touch you? And what would that feel like? Can you let yourself enjoy the experience? Or if that's difficult, what would it mean if you could let yourself feel it? What would it mean if that were true? How would that feel? To trust that that person said this thing and they meant it, that you received that compliment and it was real. How would that feel? What's that experience like for you? Now, this is sometimes the even harder part. Can you imagine that really sinking in? Like you're installing this, like I really don't like computer metaphors here, but like you're downloading this new pattern. Maybe even saying to yourself, I am what they said. Feeling that, letting it soak in, staying with it as difficult as it is. If you have to leave it, that's okay. Come back when you can. Really noticing what it's like to start to amplify this, to start to believe it, to start to allow it to be part of your experience, pulling it from the shadow and inviting it into the light, inviting it to be part of your conscious personality. This is one of the ways we can expand our window of capacity by allowing good experiences to be something we can trust and feel in our body. And then we'll let that go. If you like, you can hit pause and do one more on your own, or you can go back and let me walk you through one more time. Otherwise, I want to invite you just to notice now, what does it feel like having practiced this? Do you notice anything that feels different in your experience, or are you having some kind of aha moment? Is anything coming up for you? Notice any images, any sensations, any memories, any thoughts? And here it can be really helpful to jot those down, or maybe even to do a little drawing, but to help to bring that into consciousness and bring it into the present can be quite helpful. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you continue this practice, and I hope you find it helpful for yourself and for those that you love.